Hey everyone, it's Toby, and today we'll find out how many tabs you can find in one single playthrough of Chrono Trigger, because I counted them all. That's right. Many JRPGs have consumable items that give a small and permanent boost to your character's stats. In Chrono Trigger, these items are called tabs, and they come in 3 different forms for power, magic and speed. You can find these either as blue sparklies on the ground, get them from NPCs, charm them from certain enemies, or simply find them in chests. And that of course begs the question, how many can you get in total to boost your character's stats? Because bigger stats means bigger numbers, and bigger numbers make me happy. So I counted all tabs that I could find and will show them to you in chronological order. I will also put a small counter here so that you can always see how many you can gather up until that point. Also, quick side note, I will only focus on the original SNES version, as this is the only one that I played so far. Due to the additional content in the DS version, the total amount of tabs you can find there will likely be higher. And finally, I will summarize my results not only at the end, but also in between after what I consider the main chapters of the game, and give some additional tips on how to effectively use the tabs, because there are some things to consider. So without further ado, let's get into one of the greatest JRPGs of all time to answer one simple question. Okay, so let's get up and find a ton of tabs, and the first one can be acquired right away after leaving your house. Just take a quick stroll into the nearby forest and pick up the sparkly object east of you. That's your first power tab. When you then go into the past to rescue Mal, you can find another power tab in the exact same location, although one of the sparkly objects you see is a trap and you have to fight some enemies. The actual tab is that one sparkly which only appears shortly on the screen. You can get your third power tab down in the cathedral, where it's hidden in a bucket in the same location where the 2 soldiers are waiting to get eaten. You just have to push the skeleton switch outside to get access.
Dinner is served, bitches!
And while you're inside the cathedral, you should also pick up the sexy nugget bromide in the room with the 3 chests south of where the prisoners are. The bromide can be found in the left shelf, but there's no indication that it's actually there, and it can be traded later for a magic tab. As you can imagine, the Mystiques are not happy to lose their source of pleasured entertainment, so you immediately have to show them who is boss. So with your new jazz mag secured, you will find that there is a small drought in tabs afterwards, where you cannot get any more in the following castle dungeon and during the first 1 or 2 hours in the future. But when you go through the optional sewer access after finding out about the Day of Lovers, you can find your 4th power tab on Death Peak. Just quickly grab it from the right side near the cliffs before getting blown away. You can then get another power tab in Lab 32, but this time you really have to work for it. To get this one, you have to win a race against Johnny, the man, with more than 1500 points. But first you must get the waste log, which you can find in a chest in Lab 32. You can now also switch between 2 modes. Mode 1 is the default mode, where you get 3 boosters, and Mode 2 takes away the boosters but lets you control the camera with the L and R buttons. When you rotate the camera in front of the race cars, it's easier to cut off the man whenever he wants to overtake you. That's the only way to stay in front for longer than 2 seconds to get enough points. But I really suck at this game and needed a bazillion attempts to finally get it. I don't know, maybe I'm just not man enough. Well, anyway, the next power tab can be found below a gate in Protodome, but you cannot see this one, so it's really easy to miss. Now you might have realized that we only found power tabs so far, but that is about to change right now, because once we enter the end of time, we can fight Specchio, the Master of War. This dude takes on different forms depending on your lead character's level, and defeating each of his forms for the first time grants you at least 1 magic tab as reward. Most players will usually fight him as a koala, because they will be at least level 10 when they first get to the end of time. But if you manage to get here below level 10, you can also fight him as a little frog. So you can actually get 2 magic taps at this point from Specchio. One when you defeat him as a little frog below level 10, and then another one after reaching level 10. We will of course frequently come back to him for more rewards once we reach higher levels. And now it's also time to find our first speed tab, which you can simply grab from a table in the Elder's house in Medina Village. It's just that simple, and you can even get another magic tab from a shelf on the first floor. Just how I like it. But now it's time for another power tab, because we only had 6 so far and that's way too few. You get the next one from the chef in the castle of Guardia in 600 AD once you agree to bring his famous jerky to the starving knights on Xenon Bridge. I think this is also the first one you automatically get, so there's no way around this one. Next, remember the nugget bromide that you found earlier in the cathedral? Well, it's now time to trade it in. Just go to the Reno village and give it to this old pervert, who then gives you access to his locked shelf with your next magic tab. And I guess you really don't want to know what else might be in there. Anyway, you can get your next power tab in Powers Market, where it lies behind this little girl on the left side. And then there's also a soldier in here who thinks he's super tough and can defeat mages alone by wearing a set of super heavy armor, just to immediately collapse like a bag of sand under its weight. What an idiot. Should have watched my video and pick up the power tab next to him. So subscribe to my channel if you don't want to look like this pile of embarrassment. Next you can get another magic tab on the Denadoro Mountains. Just continue to annoy this peaceful koala who simply wants to enjoy the nice mountain view. He will eventually submit and hand over the tab. And right afterwards there is another speed tab hidden in a corner next to this ladder after passing the safe spot. Then there is another lack of tabs afterwards, mainly because there are no tabs to be found in the prehistoric age, which kind of makes sense, because the tabs were invented by one of the enlightened ones in 12,000 BC. Therefore, you cannot find any before that age. So the next tabs you can find are in Mage's lair, after you repaired the Masamune. You get one after defeating Flea, and you can find another one in the southeast corner of this big room, where you end up after falling into Ozzy's traps. After defeating mages, your characters are probably at least level 20, and that means we can fight Specchio in his goblin form and get another magic tab from him. And that covers the first part of this game. So far, we could gather a total of 8 power tabs, 8 magic tabs and 2 speed tabs. So basically an equal amount of power and magic tabs, but that is about to change because we will soon enter the Kingdom of Magic, and guess what we will find there? But first we have to defeat the Reptiles, and remember when I said that you don't find any tabs in the prehistoric age because they were invented much later? Well, it appears that you can charm a magic tab from Arzala and a power tab from the Black Tyranno. I mean, maybe you can argue that tabs you can charm from enemies are more like an essence kind of thing, so the magic tab represents Arzala's aptitude in magic and the power tab represents the Black Tyranno's brute strength. Man, I have no idea what I'm talking about here. Anyway, moving on, because we finally arrive in the Magic Kingdom of Zeal, and that means it's time for some magic. So first you can get a magic and a speed tab by getting access to the secret passage in Anahasa, and you get access by knowing in which order you have to open the books of Fire, Wind and Water. And no, it's not the one from Captain Planet. But a new in Kajar tells you the sequence. Water summons wind, and wind makes fire dance. So open the books in the order Water, Wind and Fire. You can use this sequence in both cities, and in Anahasa you can fight 6 Snu at once and get a magic and a speed tab as reward. You can then get another speed tab in Kajar, which sits in a strange location in the northeastern part. How am I even supposed to get that? Well, you can actually grab it straight through the wall from the other side. And there is another magic tab in Kajar, but you first have to learn how to properly scratch a Nu's back. Because of course you do. So first go to Zeal's castle. There, another Nu shows you how to properly do it, then go back to Kajar and scratch the back of this one. Anyway, as a reward for your services, you get another magic tab. And you can charm another magic tab from the golem, which is a not so easy boss fight, but you actually don't really have to beat him. The story continues the same way even if you lose, and you are imprisoned to suffer for all eternity. But at least you got your tab. Of course, you eventually escape, and with your charged up pendant, you can now get a couple of additional tabs by opening sealed chests and doors in other timelines. First, you should go back to the future and get the Epoch and Keeper's Dome. That makes traveling to other timelines more comfortable, and you can actually also get a magic tab in here, which is very easy to miss. Permanently, so pens out, pay attention and make notes. After you get access to the Epoch, you have to go back into the previous room before climbing into the ship. There is now a magic tab on the floor that wasn't there before, but if you instead immediately get into the ship, you will miss this tab forever. But there is one additional magic and power tab in the future. The magic tab is behind a sealed door in Twan Dome, and the power tab can be found underground in Eris Dome behind another sealed door, alongside other useful items. Then you should go back to 600 AD and into the forest. There is a sealed chest to be found in the northeast corner with another much needed speed tab. Back in 12,000 BC, you can then find a power tab in the Beast Cave waiting to be picked up right away, and the boss in this cave, the Mud Imp, has another speed tab that you can simply charm from him. On the Mountain of Wu afterwards, you can grab a magic tab in the southeast corner right before the fight against Giga Gaia, and the boss itself also has a speed tab that you can charm from its main body. But now it's time for the Magic Kingdom to live up to its name, because there are another 5 magic tabs waiting to get in your hands. So first you can find one magic tab in the Ocean Palace when you take the elevator down and then immediately back up again. And if you think that one golem earlier was bad enough, you now have to fight 2 of them, and this time you really have to defeat them. Each of them also holds a magic tab that you can charm like the previous one, but this fight is also pretty tough, so you should be prepared. But no matter how well prepared you are, shit will hit the fan in the Ocean Palace and everything goes down the drain. But at least you can get another magic tab in the last village after the apocalypse, so it's totally worth the chaos. The tab sits behind a Nu, and you have to wait until it leaves the stage, which might take a while.
3 days later. 1 week later. Much later.
Jokes aside, apparently this is random, so if the Nu does not leave after 5 seconds, just re-enter the screen until he does. And the last magic tab you can get in 12,000 BC is on the Blackbird after you are captured by Dalton, who is really starting to piss me off at this point. The magic tab is in the northeast corner of the air ducts, but you must gather all your stuff first before you can find it. And that now covers the second part of Chrono Trigger. So far, we gathered a total of 11 power, 20 magic and 7 speed tabs, so that's a lot of additional magic power we have access to. But the power tabs are about to make a serious comeback, and there's also an incredible source of speed tabs as we are about to enter the endgame. But first, your characters should be in their 30s by now, and that means you can give Specchio another beating, as he will now appear as an Omnicrone. But nothing to really worry about, so that's another magic tab in the bag. And now it's time to do all the characters' side quests, and I always start with the Sunken Desert Cave if I haven't done it already before entering the Ocean Palace. Yep, you can actually do it right there after telling the girl in Zeal's palace to not burn the magic sapling, but you have to backtrack all the way to the Middle Ages. During the boss fight in the Sunken Desert Cave, you can then charm a speed tab from the Wetty Knight's core, and after beating him, you can find a power tab in the previous area where you first entered the cave. After that, there is a power tab you can find in the Sun Keep in 600 AD after you place the Moonstone in the Prehistoric Age. Some asshat may steal the Moonstone later, but he will never get my tab. Then you can get a speed tab at the West Cape in 1000 AD, where it is hidden behind Thomas's grave. By the way, did you know that Mal was totally into Thomas? At least she was drooling over him in the secret memory lane ending, where Luca and Mal reviewed some of the male characters they met during their adventure. So I guess Chrono was just second option. I hope he never finds out. Anyway, if you then go through the nearby hero's grave, you can get a power tab on the east staircase between the floors and a magic tab at the end next to Cyrus's grave. Next, there are a couple of tabs you can find in Genodome in the future, and I gotta be honest with you here, I did not find all of them on my first and second playthrough, and I lost my recent footage of Genodome. So I can tell you where the tabs are, but I cannot show you footage for all of them. You just have to trust in me, okay? I would never betray you. Anyway, first there is a magic tab behind this laser barrier after fighting Atropos, and the hardest part is to actually hit the switch to deactivate the barrier. I still don't know how to properly position myself. Got it. Finally. Then there is a power tab next to the entrance of this long hallway, and after taking the elevator down, you can find a magic tab in the hidden passage leading to another switch. You have to hold up while going through the passage and continue to press the A button until you find it. This is one of the tabs I have no footage for, so instead you can watch my stupid ass going through the passage without any clue. And finally you can find a speed tab in the same place where you find one of the Poyozo dolls, but you have to leave the room after picking up the doll and then go back into it. I also have no footage of this one, but the tab just sits there after you re-enter. Next, there is a place called the Giant's Claw, and if you think the dinosaurs are extinct, well, think again, because nature always finds a way, and some cold-blooded survivors are secretly living in what is basically the leftovers of Tyranno Lair. And you can get a couple of power tabs in here. You can find one after you fall down into the same pit where you also saw the cat falling into, and the power tab is right behind the locked jaws. Don't worry, the cat is fine, that was just one of its 9 lives. Anyway, you can find the next power tab right afterwards, because it's waiting in a corner in the next area, and this time no cat has to die for it. The last power tab is behind another locked jaws, and you can already see it waiting for you. You can find it after you fall down another pit a little later, and then going left from the cell you just fell into. Next, I normally go to Ozzy's fort to deal with that little jackass, and there's a secret area right before the fight against the Green Pickle and his disaster duo. In the secret area you can not only find the best equipment for mages, but also your next magic tab. Now before we go into the Black Omen, your characters are most likely beyond 40, just like me. And that means it's time for another fight against Specchio, who now appears as a purple Masamune. And this fight is actually challenging, so equip anything that reduces or absorbs incoming magic damage. This time you not only get one magic tab for beating Specchio, but a whole set of power, magic and speed tabs. Isn't that wonderful? And that finally brings us to the Black Omen, and oh boy, can you get a ridiculous amount of tabs in here. To start things off, you can charm one speed tab from any of the panels, and you encounter 13 panels in total. Yep, that means you can get a whopping 13 speed tabs, which is crazy and doubles the amount of speed tabs you have access to. But it doesn't stop there. You can also charm one magic tab from any of the aliens, although there are not 13 but only 4 of them in here. But hey, 4 magic tabs is better than nothing. And when it comes to power tabs, you can charm those from any of the top stars, and you also encounter 4 top stars in total, just like the aliens. But here's the thing, unlike the aliens and also unlike the panels from earlier, the top stars actually respawn after defeating them. Yep, that means you can get an infinite amount of power tabs. So basically, you can get, what was the line again? Ah yes. Well, at least if you spend a lot of time farming them. But let's not do that for now and instead finish the rest of the Black Omen, because there are 4 more speed tabs to be found in here. There's one in a chest in the southeast corner near the second top star, and another one right afterwards next to this gargoyle. The third one is in a chest near the aliens, and the fourth one is in the chest after fighting the Terror Mutant. And that's pretty much it. Well, kind of. There's one final source of taps in the game, but it will take a while to get them. So if you level your characters all the way to 99, you can fight Specchio's last and final form, the Pink Gnu, which is also not an easy fight to win. He has some nasty tricks and access to the most powerful spells in the game, but if you beat him, you get a generous 10 power, 10 magic and 10 speed taps. I actually made a video about leveling up to 99 and defeating the Pink Gnu, because there is a cool little thing you can do with one of Frog's and Luca's double tags, so feel free to check it out. So in the end, I was able to find 33 power taps, 40 magic taps and 38 speed taps, granted of course not spending any time to farm more power taps from the top stars. I'm actually surprised that there are almost as many speed taps as there are magic taps in the game, courtesy of course to the Black Omen, where you can get 17 speed taps in total. I know of course that the biggest sources of taps are pretty much endgame and therefore not that useful anymore. I mean, if your characters are level 99, adding a couple more taps doesn't really make a difference. The taps that you can get through the first and second part of the game, however, have a much bigger impact, so it's interesting to see that you can get an equal amount of 8 power and magic taps up until your confrontation with mages, but then only a mere 3 additional power taps and a hefty amount of 12 magic taps during the second part until you acquire the Flying Epoch. But I guess that makes sense, because you spend most of that time in the Kingdom of Magic, so not really a surprise. As for how to effectively spend your taps, of course you can do the obvious and give power taps to your melee attackers, magic taps to casters, and speed taps to whoever you're using most of the time. In regards to power taps, I'm not even disagreeing, just spend them on whoever you like. I would suggest Chrono, because you are forced to use him through most of the story anyway. Just don't give any power taps to Luca and Mal, because they do not profit in any way from them, not even by auto-attacking. As for magic taps, you can of course also give them immediately to your main casters like Luca, Mal and mages, but I would actually consider something else, because magic is not only used for dealing damage, but also for healing. So every character who can heal also profits from having more magic power, and that includes characters like Frog, Isla and Robo, who do not gain a lot of magic power naturally. So increasing their magic by even a little has a huge impact on their healing power, and in case of Robo, it also impacts the power of his useful magic attacks like Shadow Laser, Spark and Living Bomb. That's actually how I use most of my magic taps. It makes Robo kind of an all-rounder with strong physical, magical and healing power. To top it off, I usually also spend some speed taps on Robo, because speed is also something that he's lacking by default, and increasing both his magic and speed makes him a huge powerhouse and, in my opinion, the overall strongest character in the game. Just be aware that he gains a flat +3 in speed while doing his side quest in Geno Dome, so do not max out his speed stat by using taps beforehand. That would be a huge waste. But what would not be a huge waste is to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel, because this is to be continued. Thanks for watching.